All right. Hello. It's currently 11:02. It's January 24th. Today was probably one of the hardest days. I woke up and I felt pretty nauseous, and when I started working, I got even more dizzy. I don't know if it's because of the accumulation of just looking at the computer all day, as that's my day job, but I wasn't able to do the one thing I needed to do, which is, making sure also making time for studying and also documenting. So instead, I feel very anxious about the future, but I think by just going over some of the projects that I've done in the past, reminiscing over some of the failures and some successes, I think this would be important kind of as a documentation of where I'm currently at, where I'm headed, but also useful for someone who, if I was watching this 2 or 3 years ago, it would have been very immensely useful as I'm going to be sharing some of the lessons that I've gone through so far. I think I want to start this journey when I was around eighth grade, like turning into ninth grade, and I still feel a little nauseous. So excuse me if I'm a little bit slow. I'm still optimistic because this stage will pass. But essentially, when I was in ninth grade, was I was a big into video games, and I started streaming on a platform called Twitch. And over the next like 3 years within high school, I was streaming quite a lot, like thousands of hours. I believe I probably have over, I wouldn't be surprised if I had over 2,500 hours streamed, like minimum. Because I think it shows you, Twitch shows you. And we were able to scale our community to over 10,000 followers. And I was streaming games such as Counter Strike, which is a first person shooter game, along with transitioning into Roblox as well. Because Roblox was, my mom didn't allow me to play any paid games. So Roblox was a free game that I was able to play and I obsessed about. So those two. And I'm grateful for that experience because not only did I make okay money, like I was probably making below the minimum wage if I consider all things considered, but I think in total we probably crossed $13,000, but that's over the course of like many years. So, and then a lot of that was from bigger whales like donations, along with subscriptions as well. There was a thing called Twitch Prime Sub, where if someone does have an Amazon Prime subscription, you could support a streamer, and I think that really helped out when building out the community. And I thought that was something that I really envisioned doing, but it wasn't really sustainable because if I was considering like paying rent, insurance, home, well, home is rent, right? Food, etc., etc. It wouldn't have been a sustainable career for me at that stage. But still, I'm still grateful for that experience because I still talk to some of the community members even up to this day, and yeah, I'm really grateful for those memories as it's a part of my childhood. But essentially, after that, in high school, I believe I was either a sophomore or junior. I think it was junior. I was a junior year. I was still big into gaming, and I was big into watching YouTube. Still am now. One of the videos that captivated me was, making money online and seeing the dropshipping model. The dropshipping model essentially is you're sourcing goods from either China or India, and you're importing them into America, and they do the fulfillment essentially through Overlow. I think was quite common. AliExpress, those were kind of main platforms. I even thought about like doing journals that way because I think I was journaling at that time. But when I ordered some samples, it wasn't really good quality. Like the GSM of the GSM is essentially like the paper quality. It wasn't really that good. But I don't know, my timeline might be a little bit mixed, and I probably have to go through my previous laptop to see if there are some videos or some text because I do remember having some screen recordings. I started off with humpback posture correctors. So because gamers they have a shrimp bag, I thought, okay, this is something that I would probably use and buy. So I was able to source a product, found the product, But how I marketed this, everything, if you do anything about e-commerce, this is lesson number one, is don't focus on creating an LLC, an institution, an organization, because those are all cost. You have to first focus about revenue and solving a pain point. Once you have a validated pain point, and all you are doing is like servicing that pain point, and that's when you could kind of consider affording the LLC and everything else. My thinking process was completely backwards. I was so concerned about what my logo was going to be. It was actually the Humpback of Notre Dame. I don't know if you guys have watched that Disney movie, but because he has a very curved shoulder, I thought, okay, this would be viral. This is going to go insane. And this was when Instagram pages were really big at the time. I'm sure maybe you guys have heard of certain creators doing really well with Instagram pages. Like these are like meme accounts that would get millions of views. And what they would do is they had daily ad rates, for example, for a 30-minute post, an hour post, 24-hour post, or even 7 days, one day, they had rates for all of them. So I found this gaming slash meme page, and I paid them $40 for a 24-hour post. And I set a specific interval of like, okay, you need to start at 9 a.m. because I thought that's when gamers were gonna be able to look at. I think it was on a weekday as well. I was in class, I believe it was in AP history or history slash economics. I think they did two AP classes in like half a semester and then the other semester. But essentially, I was learned. I think I pirated a Shopify course to learn how to do this, and I created a Shopify store, and I was so excited when the ad actually was live. So excited. I saw, I think in 340 sessions, if my memory calls, it's either 340 or 240. It could be 140. I know there was a 40 there. I know that's a big variance, but it was so cool to see the sessions, but none of them converted. I was probably number one, like super naive in like making the customer journey really fall like seamlessly, because I probably tested it one time. Like I saw the product, I made the product description, made it compatible on the desktop along with the phone, the mobile version. And I think I really optimized on the mobile version, but I didn't really consider like, making it more conversion. I think it's called CRO, conversion rate optimization, because it it didn't create any urgency. It didn't really talk about the pain point. It was just, hey dude, this is this something that you want, right? And I focused the ad copy on like just the product in itself, not the pain point. And I think that's where I really kind of messed up. Nowadays, like as you see, Cal AI, RizGPT, or Umax, all founded by I think the same person, which I think is so intelligent and so cool and fascinating. The person who founded this wasn't a super technical founder, but he has a framework of understanding what people want and need and are willing to pay for, a specific pain point, and then just reverse engineering that into, building apps that solves a pain point within the market. But essentially mine flopped, and I pivoted my idea essentially twice actually. So one was humidifier. I was like, okay, humidifiers are super cool. And the funny story is I actually did get a sale from this one, but the main reason is because I had an audience. So this is point number two. You really need an audience, or you need to be good at being able to captivate an audience if you're going to generate any sale or convert anything. You need a message, because my message was, this person was someone I met through gaming, through my Twitch streams, and I was kind of sharing. We would just have like a Discord call, and I was just sharing, this is something that I'm doing. Do you think this would be interesting? And he's like, yeah, I think I'll give it a go. And so I did see the Shopify. When it first got the sale, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. It took me 3 weeks for it to deliver. So that's another interesting thing, which is like e-commerce and the idea of making money. Those are going to be sold online, and I think the idea, it's very lucrative. Some of them are packaged in a really nice manner, where it's like, oh, it's like, it sounds so easy, like e-commerce, crypto, trading. Any of these are, it's going to be packaged really nicely in a course, but you don't really see the back end of it. And the back end fulfillment aspect, for example, was because you're importing stuff from China, like the fulfillment cost along with the time, it was like 3 weeks or so. It came a month late, and then the product in itself, it wasn't. I don't think it was as effective as advertised. to say the least. But I did make a sale. I think it was bought it for 50 something, so I think I profited like $20. But because that wasn't gonna be sustainable, I changed it again. This was when I think February was coming up, and I was like, guess what's happening February? Valentine's Day. So I bought a domain called XOXO Bears. XOXO is like kind of like kisses. I saw like other people were, doing it. And so I was like, okay, this is a validated pain point. Like I could use emotions and really, this is something you learn in English class, right? Like it's like appeal to emotion. So got like this rose bear. And then I don't know if I did any Instagram pages on that one, but we had videos. We had videos that I just got from like other people and then tried that, but zero sales. So that pretty much became dormant because the cost of running these ads like was too costly. Like for example, like doing the $40 Instagram ads, like if I did that consistently, like the fact that I wasn't able to attribute or know like exactly what processes that I needed to solve, I don't think I didn't I wasn't not number one in the right mindset, and then number two, I didn't really have the skills necessary to make sure I had the foresight of okay, I need to fix all of these problems. I did not have that analytical kind of brain. So yeah, I think that's probably the reason why I failed, but nonetheless, I think those were exciting journeys. So yeah, now we'll transition into yeah, that was my high school, and then during college, I dabbled into the world of marketing again. So this was with actually a partner that I found as I was really interested in the SMMA. I probably some of you guys probably have seen videos of I'm in GAD. There's so many young like entrepreneurs that was in the space. Bia Heza, I think was also a few. I was watching a lot of personal finance videos as well during this time, and so I was like, okay, I want to do this. I want to continue trying it because I see it's definitely working. It's like I'm probably just not smart if I'm not making this work, right? Because if they could do it, like there's a clear blueprint. I just have to figure out, okay, what are the skill sets that I need to get, and what, how can I execute in a flawless manner, or if I, fail, how can I reiterate so that it's gonna work? So partnered up with someone for this one. He had over $50 million of Google ad spend, and before we started doing e-commerce, I started doing the service agency, which is I was trying to run a Google Ads agency and it did well. I think within the first 2 months of partnering up with him and figuring out what he did, which was I think he was really into Performance Max, PMax, which is essentially like Google Ads algorithm of being able to do competitive, like it uses machine learning for decreasing I think CPC, which is a cost per click, and cost of acquiring a customer was pretty good. The ROAS at the end of the day was looking seeming good based on some of the e-commerce brands that he was working with. He was working with a lot of, I think, fast fashion. I think is a good term. So athletic kind of leisure for women. I think those leggings were really good. And then we also had fast fashion. Kind of think about like Fashion Nova. So those two had millions in ad spend, and he kind of showed me through like, okay, this is what we're currently doing. I believe I could do this. And he worked for a really prominent agency, and he introduced me to a potential client, and I got on a call, and because the college that I was going to, um, I went to I transferred over to UCLA, and the person who was operating the business was USC. As we're in like the similar vicinity, I think that vibed really well. I think that was probably the main reason why I was able to convert it into a sale. So that one, I think we started off maybe with 1,000 and then 500 retainer, and so that did for around 6 months or so. So in total, let's say around 3,500 was how much we got paid, and that was really cool. I got to learn a lot about copywriting. I created YouTube shorts for her, but the biggest pain point about the retention aspect is you need a systemized workflow where you could just copy and paste the service delivery aspect. But mine was we did weekly reports for after we've set up the Google ad campaign. But I think the pain point was that, okay, the ROAS on a weekly basis had to be positive for them to justify, paying us, because not only are they paying for the ad cost, they were also paying us on a retainer fee, right? It wasn't just a performance based model. We're just charging them even if we weren't getting like really good results. And to preface this, we were getting certain days we were getting around like a 3x ROAS. ROAS stands for return on ad spend, but for the specific client, let's say their product price was $70. COGS, cost of goods sold, would be, the actual product cost that she would be manufacturing from, I believe she had person in Mexico, I believe her factory was in Mexico. But in addition to that, she was paying for Google ads, right? So in that sense, if we weren't getting let's say above a 2x ROAS, it would be very hard to justify like costs such as that. So I think the next lesson is you need to make sure whatever skills that you're building is truly attributable to revenue. So for example, I think coders in companies are really valuable within this modern age because they're able to have so much leverage and they're creating something for the firm that will eventually unlock enterprise value. They're if they're literally building the product in itself, like that is probably the closest thing that you could get to revenue. And another thing is probably like a managerial position because you're directly attributed to the performance of the entire company. But then also sales is really important because sales is performance driven. You have to hit your KPIs, whether it be your cold calls, how many demos you're scheduling, how many demos you're converting, all of those KPI metrics. So attribution, I think, was something that I lacked, and also having a good operating procedure and knowing the pain points and figuring out, okay, what are other like service pain points, such as like copywriting that we could write on behalf of all of the customers that they had. I didn't have the foresight of kind of understanding that, but it's only in aftersight that I learned, oh, I could have done these things way better, right? Like not only are we focusing on serving like Google ads, but we're also helping them create like the best type of copywriting, right? Because although we had some experience in creating like H1, H2, H3 tags and making sure that we could create like product descriptions that was search engine optimized, I feel like we could have done more with email marketing, for example, setting up like Klaviyo campaign flows or things of that nature, where it would have been even more of a value add and we're not as replaceable to just another kind of Google Ads campaign, like Google Ads media buyer, because there's countless of them that you could probably find on the internet. So that was lesson two. But essentially, we pivoted that from there to now that we know, okay, we do have a competitive advantage that I have with this partner who has a lot of Google Ads spend and he knows like, okay, these keywords might do really well. So we weren't doing low ticket product anymore because, for example, the low ticket items that we were doing before, right, within the story is we did posture correctors and humidifiers. So for example, like let's say, this water bottle is $20, but the cost of goods sold, like the cost to get this is, let's say, $10, but keep in mind it's only $10 and we're not considering like any marketing cost as well. But these $10, for me to get to $10,000 in revenue, I have to sell 1,000 of these. And unless like you're really good at, let's say creating Instagram videos or TikTok videos, I wasn't really good at that. So we're going to do Google ads and that's going to cost money. So we thought, okay, I think let's go the high ticket model. And I also saw blueprints for that. That was also showing this. Okay, maybe it's a little bit of the shiny object syndrome, but I found that, okay, maybe this is it. This will be our gateway or ticket to freedom. So we landed on saunas because I was really into longevity. I was listening to a lot of Andrew Huberman discussing about the benefits of using sauna and cold plunge. So one of the benefits is that, using a sauna, it mimics as if you're doing a cardiovascular exercise, the fact that you get brown fat cells, which when you're born as a baby, like you get brown fat cells, which kind of keeps you warm and that decreases as you age. But when you go into sauna, those are activated so that you're still burning fat even when you stop using the sauna. So like benefits like that I thought was so cool. That was on the rise. Joe Rogan was talking about it. A lot of big kind of thought leaders, let's say, were talking about it, I was like, this is a no-brainer. There was so much competition, so many competition, and we'll walk through a couple. But I still thought, okay, maybe this is a validated space. So we use tools such as SEMrush to look at, okay, what's like the volume of people looking for the specific sauna. People shouldn't be just typing just saunas. We needed to look at the transactional keywords, meaning, let's say they're typing at the all room 2-person sauna. Those were the moneymaker keywords. So we would figure out what type of branded keywords that we could kind of find, and then we would reverse that to find the suppliers. And this was the hardest process, which is finding a list of suppliers and getting in contact with the right decision maker. And I would have to send out agreements we had agreements with Plunge. I'm sure maybe you guys, if you guys are in the biohacking space, the cold plunge is really famous now. There's our room, there's Clearlight, there's a lot of different saunas that I could kind of go over. But essentially, let me show you. Another mistake I guess I made was I was too focused on creating the LLC. We got this was my junior year of university, and I was like so excited. We created an LLC. I had good credit at the time, so I applied for an Amex Platinum card because we thought we were going to use a lot of ad spend, get a lot of points, and then reinvest that into the company. But essentially, this was just one example of the logo. But yeah, so essentially we got the logo. I wanted to show you guys the P&L, but it got deleted. I don't know how it got deleted because there's other files which is not deleted. But yeah, the supplier research was probably the hardest part. We had to figure out, okay, these are the different, product types that we want to solve or that we want to sell. And yeah, we just had a bunch of different brand names that we wanted to contact. So there's around, for example, this one, 42, and it had to meet a certain criteria that, that had good demand, good margin. I think those two were really important. And then a product type that we know we could market utilizing Google Ads. So we landed on sauna heaters, outdoor saunas, infrared saunas, etc., etc. Yeah, we were able to figure out like, okay, this is like the price that we're going to be able to get. And then we had some contact names. So essentially, we did get some good results. I actually want to show you now the first sale that we got when we first launched, which is this was actually 2 years ago on April 5th, 2023. Dude, I just checked. Oh my goodness, this was 5/16. I was at the gym after my classes, and boom, you could see Smell Sauna order for one item totaling $2,848. And I was elated, and I'll show you a clip of my exact experience. Let's see. There we go. And so keep in mind, again, like I'm at the gym, and you will know if you guys have ever run an e-commerce store and got your first sale, the ka-ching sound on Shopify is the dopamine rush and adrenaline rush you'll get it's like top 3. Like if you could just compare it with eating some chicken tendies or something exciting in your life, it's like that. The rush is insane. But here we go.
Yo, hello. Sorry I didn't see the call. I was in the gym, but my goodness, first sale. I'm so happy, man. I'm gonna go home and fulfill this, send out some emails, but congrats, man.
So my mind was on fulfilling the order, making sure that the product gets to them. And one thing I forgot to mention is that I got opportunity to partner up with a supplier that had 60,000 square feet of warehouse in Chicago. And they essentially had partnerships with European brands. And so they had a lot of saunas and sauna heaters that they would import to Chicago and then distribute across America. I sold in Texas. Texas was a really big market. I think there was one in Hawaii as well. The biggest mistake I made here with the shipping cost. For example, let's say the sauna heater that I was selling was $2,000, and the cost for me was $1,000. The MAP stands for minimum advertised price. That's how much like every other dealer has to sell it for. So 2,000, like I could go lower. I can't go lower than that. I have to display it at 2,000. I could go higher than that, but 2,000 is the price. So let's say that's what the customer sees. And then I'm able to get a good deal because I'm a dealer for representing like one of the retailers. And I get, my cost is $1,000, but I wasn't putting in the shipping cost. And this is where things get really bad. But because if you think about it, you're like, okay, the cost is only $1,000. $2,000, that's $1,000 profit, right? No, it's not. Shipping cost, there's ad cost, there's vendor payments that you may need to make for like certain like taxes, etc., etc. There's so many costs of actually running a business. And if you're really good at marketing and generating attention, then you have more margin of error. But if you don't know how to get attention, and if you're just thinking that your product is going to be so good that everyone's going to come to you, that's definitely not the case within e-commerce. Like I think the fundamental thing is like learn how to get attention and solving a like big enough pain point for a specific niche, whether it be a community or yeah, it has to be a community that their pain points really really well. And on the first month, I could proudly say that we generated $10,000 in revenue. I I I don't know if I have screenshots. I think it's on my other phone. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in my other phone because this one's new. Oh, man, the biggest regret I have is not sharing that one. I don't know why, because when I was creating this, I was trying to find the Google Sheets of my P&L of what I was paying for, so I could actually show you because I could briefly take a look. I mean, I could show you that we did have a P&L, obviously, because this was on the Discord that I shared with him. So on January 5th, and you can kind of see it right here. December, we were paying for OpenPhone, which was like the virtual phone that we needed. Also Mailbox, Envato, Shopify, Gecko template. We also had an Upwork developer that was just creating out our like pages and making sure it's search engine optimized. We also had copies we had like 10 copies of discussing health benefits of saunas, and we paid writers for that. We also had, let's see, LLC statement, and then we also had VAs as well. But as you can see, the cost was very very high in the first month. And again, a big pain point again is like you don't need to do all of this. I think the first thing is you just need an audience, and if you have an audience, then these things will just pay off for itself. But this is so much risk that you're taking up front without a validated like idea that you're going to be receiving like a bulk of orders. So that's another lesson. Don't worry too much about creating LLC in the beginning. Just focus on having a pain point and validating that, and having like a waiting list of people that are willing to pay you money. And obviously that's way harder than it sounds, but once you build a community and know that their pain points really well, then building something like this is gonna be way much better in terms of the sustainability of the business. Yeah, essentially, I think in first month we did $10,000 in terms of revenue, but because of the shipping cost, keep in mind we're transporting saunas and sauna heaters. We did sauna heaters. We didn't sell any saunas, unfortunately, but sauna heaters did really well, and that got us to that. But we also had stones, and those are so heavy. We're talking about like these sauna stones. The shipping cost was 500 to all the way up to 1,000, and that decreased our margins in addition to the Google ads that we're spending on. But I would have continued on because there was like still like 5 to 10% profit margin, but we had to shut it down eventually because the whole business model was structured upon Google ads, right? Because that was our competitive advantage. So this is lesson number 3, I guess, which is make sure that you have a good avenue of marketing that is not solely reliant on external forces. So for example, our business model was structured upon Google. And so Google, we got a Google merchant suspension. So we paid someone, I think, $1,000. He was he runs an agency on literally solving Google merchant suspensions, and we solved everything. We fixed everything, right? Like this is just one example. Denied, denied, denied. And so this was very, very difficult, very, very difficult time. And we could have continued waiting, but I just decided to just shut it down because it was just not worth it. So that was that. And now we're in 2024. So in 2024, I was continuing on school, and I think the story kind of transitions into what I'm doing now and what I'm planning on doing in the future. I took a healthcare economics class, and the big insight was within the healthcare cost is going to be rising. There's growing need within the elderly space that needs healthcare. And so I also met a friend. I call him a best friend now. His name's Ming, and he's technical. He has a master's in biomedical engineering. And partnering up with him, my goal is to build something that's really that's not like super revolutionary, but we're able to build something that's 1% better each day, and that improves the quality of healthcare. And obviously, like none of this may directly contributed to it, like to what I'm doing now. But we first started off with creating maybe a we could help out with placement of being able to help out seniors find better communities. But that was just such a low leverage kind of a position because we were going into like social like skilled nursing facilities asking social workers, hey, do you have any seniors? But it turns out 1 out of 10 usually go to long-term care, and most of them usually go back home. That was a big pain point that we didn't really consider. We only were considering about, okay, this is a big pain point. We see the graph going up. This must be like an issue, but we didn't really understand like the bigger underlying issue, and that's something that I'm still figuring out now as I continue on the journey. But one thing I did want to show you is the fact that I think this was last year. So that's just some proof that the skills that I've gathered from previous few years have some work, because in this one we were helping out creating websites. We were helping create photos and videos for actual assisted living facilities which needed some help with setting that up. And that was really informative of actually understanding, okay, what are these facilities doing, how do they operate, how does the licensing work, and how are these elderly patients actually being treated. There's a lot of lessons there that I still kind of need to fully synthesize and dispense out. But essentially, I think they're within healthcare. A lot of things is moving more towards home health of people, hopefully going less to emergency rooms, but being able to focus on preventive care, because a lot of people usually go to emergency rooms where a lot of those cases that could just be alleviated by having more primary care access, right? But it could be due to lack of education, lack of trust to institutions like hospitals. And so this is something that I still don't know exactly how I could build something that's sustainable. Obviously, it would need to generate like good revenue for me and Ming to kind of justify, doing this full time. But that's something I want to do, and that gets me super excited of maybe one day we'll be able to operate a facility ourselves where it's not based on just people just staying there until they die, kind of in a sad manner, because some of these facilities, like, you go there and they're just watching television all day, not really being active or staying in room. They're really gloomy, but more so focused on longevity. I've heard that idea before, and it sounds really incredible. Obviously, so hard in action, probably costly to have caregivers to actually participate in those things, because it's not easy to have quality caregivers, let's say, willing to help with improving health metrics, right? Because their duty is more so just making sure that they're eating and their medication, they're taking some medication, uh, and no elder abuse. Yeah, I mean, in some of these facilities, it's really a hit or miss. Obviously, the better quality ones are the ones that are more expensive. I've seen communities that are tens of thousands, $20,000 or so, and some of them have waiting list. Right, I think for a skilled nursing facility, getting a license for that is really really hard. And I do see that there's like home health, software businesses that are really important. Oh, just to notice that. Yeah, to close this out, I want to make this brief. Is I'm still very uncertain, but right now I'm currently working as an AE, kind of considered just as a sales position at a healthcare company. And I didn't do the traditional route of going into investment banking and consulting. I think I didn't have that strong of a desire, but I still do feel the immense pressure, the societal pressure of the importance of status and the traditional career path. But I think the skill sets that I truly want to focus more upon is more so about being able to communicate ideas in a very synthesized manner, and learning how to get attention and being able to connect it with a good service. I mean, essentially, marketing and being able to copyright in an effective manner, and being able to spot opportunities where, I could just go all in upon. And so I know that's not really, that it's kind of unclear, but in terms of like skill sets, it would be being able to gather attention and being able to fulfill the desires or needs of that attention that that I'll be able to generate. And so yeah, I mean, that may seem like very confusing, but within the modern world, that's what I see within businesses that are doing extremely well, and that's a path that I find super rewarding because it's really just problem solving, no guarantee, but the payoff is super meaningful because you're actually helping out a community rather than working on increasing shareholder value of for like a company that doesn't really care too much about you. So yeah, I want to be irreplaceable in that regards. I want to be better at writing. I want to be better at learning how to communicate. I want to be able to build systems and teams where we could solve problems. So I think those three are pretty good. But yeah, hope this was useful. This was definitely helpful just to speak everything out and kind of documenting the journey. But with that stated, one thing I want to also share is that the 365 days I'm doing is I'm documenting each day on the days, not weekends. Sometimes there'll be weekends, but on the days where I'm getting closer to my goals. So that's what the 365 days is. And by the end of that 365 challenge, I will have found like clear purpose and a clear structure of product market fit, and then hopefully being able to kind of progress within the career that I'm currently in. But yeah, that's about it.